Hi everybody, it's me from Rainbows and Mondays, Josie, here to tell you today how to make some rainbow rice. So rainbow rice is great. It can be used for so many different things. The best thing that it can be used for is sensory play. It can be used for sensory bins where you put rice in a big bucket or a big box and put other things in there for them to try and find. Or for them to just play with. Pouring and scooping is really good for rainbow rice. So I'm going to just give you a quick tutorial on how to make it. Really, it's really easy. So what I've got with me this evening is basically some plain uncooked rice. I've just used long grain cheese chips. Doesn't have to be anything special like basmati or anything like that, just long grain uncooked rice. I am using distilled vinegar, just plain distilled vinegar, which is again really easy to come by. I get it in my local supermarket. My trusty Wilton food colourings, which I bought a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if everybody remembers, but it was really good value for money. I've been using them loads and they're coming in really handy, so I'm going to use those. And that's pretty much it. There is literally 3 ingredients: food colouring, rice and vinegar. So let's get started. I have made some already, but I'm not going to show you those yet. I'm going to show you what the process is like. I'm going to show you one colour process, then I'll show you the ones that I've already made, and then I'll show you another one process. So far I've already made purple, blue and red. So I'm going to go with, because the idea is to be a bit like a rainbow, obviously meaning rainbow rice, so I'm going to go with yellow. So here's my pot of food colouring. It's a tiny little pot, but you literally only need a tiny amount. Okay, so I've got a pot with my uncooked rice in, with a lid. It's very important that you need a lid. And I'm going to use a teaspoon, and I'm literally just going to put 1 teaspoon of vinegar into the rice. This is uncooked rice. So literally 1 teaspoon of vinegar. The reason I'm using vinegar is because it helps make the colour spread, to give it a little bit liquid, and it also helps the rice to absorb the colour. You can also use antibacterial gel, so I've heard, but I've not used it because I've never had any problems with the vinegar, and obviously vinegar is natural, and antibac gel isn't particularly natural. So as you can see, I've literally just used a cocktail stick and I've dunked it into my pot of yellow and tucked it into the rice. So all I'm going to do is stick my lid on top and give it a good shake. I'm going to shake it until all the colour is completely transferred onto the rice and it's an even colour. Literally, it does not take 2 seconds. So all I've got in this pot, uncooked rice, 1 teaspoon of distilled vinegar, and a very small amount of my Wilton food colouring. Right, so as you can see, this is a lovely sunshine yellow, absolutely gorgeous colour. And as you can see, I literally dipped my cocktail stick into the gel, put it in my thing, and I've shaken it up so it's all evenly spread. So now, because you have made the rice quite wet with the vinegar and the food colouring, you need to lay it out onto a flat surface. So I'm going to be using these trays. They're like aluminium baking trays or disposable trays. I find these really useful. I use them over and over again for stuff. And I'm just going to lay out my rice on the tray. I'm just going to shake it out. I'm just going to show you. Let me just get a spoon to dip that out. Okay, so I'm just going to scoop all this rice out onto this tray. I suppose you could leave it in the box, but because it's on a flatter surface, it will just dry quicker. And you want it to be dry because otherwise the colour's going to start staining people's hands, and that's not great. So best thing to do is literally just lay it out on a flat surface. It can be a baking tray, it can just be foil, it doesn't have to be anything special. Lay it out flat so it's a very thin layer, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I've literally just laid it out onto a thin tray like this, very thin layer, and that will dry overnight. Okay, and that is it. So I'm going to show you some others that I've already made so you can see colour combinations. I also need to tell you that although rice obviously is edible, uncooked rice is not edible. So ideally you want to use this for toddlers that are out of the mouthing stages. You don't really want to give it to kids who are just going to shove everything in their mouth. So this colour, purple. So Wilton food colouring again, tiny little bit of purple, teaspoon of white vinegar, and I'm just going to lay this out on the tray. Okay, so lay it out on the tray, nice and thin. So I've literally now got a purple and a yellow. So these are literally just going to dry in their trays overnight. I've also made a blue. So this is my blue Wilton food colouring. As you can see, it's a really, really nice colour. Nice and vivid. The brighter the better. Lay it out on my tray. There we go. Okay. And last but not least, this is the one I've prepared already. The one that I prepared earlier, as Blue Peter would say. Red. I will warn you, when you're using red food colouring, as I found out last time, and as lots of people told me, you need a lot more red than you do other colours. So for the yellow, as you saw, I literally dipped my cocktail stick into that pot, put it into that box. Whereas the red one, I had to do that maybe 3 or 4 times. So if you want a really vivid red, like I've got now, I did have to use more food colouring than the other colours. For anyone who hasn't got food colouring and would be interested in purchasing some, the colours that I've got are from Hobbycraft. I'll show you the box. The Wilton food colouring gels. Really, really, really cheap in Hobbycraft at the moment. I've got 8 colours for £10. It sounds like a lot and it was a bit of a splurge. However, if you buy them individually, they were £2.80, I think. So you're getting 8 for £10 rather than £2.80 per rice. Okay, per rice? Per colour. Right. Sorry. Okay, so I've laid my red out, laid my purple out. You can see how vivid the colours are, especially when they're next to each other. They look amazing. So I'm just going to leave those overnight. Okay, next colour. I'm going to do a green. So I've got a blue, a yellow, a red, a purple, and last but not least, I'm going to do a green. The vinegar I've used is distilled malt vinegar, Shannon, but I'm not sure whether you could use just normal malt vinegar. I don't see why not. It's just so it spreads out the colour and makes it absorb into the rice, so I'm not sure. Again, just to let you guys know that this is not for mouthing toddlers. You want them to be outgrown of that stage. You can get what they call Bacillus cereus it's called, which is basically a bacteria that causes food poisoning. One of the most dangerous strains of it is obviously vomiting and diarrhea. So ideally, we do not want our toddlers putting this in their mouth. Okay, green. Something happened there. Okay, so green colour next. 1 teaspoon of vinegar. I must also add, for the amount that I've done, I have a 1 kilo bag of rice. That's it, 1 kilo, which has made all this rice. So I've split 1 kilo into 5 different colours, which is obviously 200 grams per colour. So that goes to show how much I'm using for 1 teaspoon of vinegar. So I'm literally just going to dip my cocktail stick into my food colouring, just rub it around the top and shake it up until the colour is all evenly dispensed. Good thing about coloured rice, it doesn't have to just be used for sensory play. It can also be used for sensory pouches and sensory bottles. So for toddlers or babies that obviously are in the mouthing stages, they can still have access to these, but just not direct access. So you could make up a little sensory bottle with loads of different coloured rices in for them to look at, which looks amazing and sounds amazing, so it's really stimulating for babies. Okay, so this is my green, which looks really good. As you saw, I literally just used the end of my cocktail stick, dipped into the gels, and that was it. So I'm just going to lay this out on my tray. And leave it overnight. And that is it. So tomorrow in the morning, this will all be dried out. You'll know when it's dried out because one, it won't smell as strong, because I must admit it has got a little bit of a smell, obviously because of the using the vinegar. But that's fine, just adds to the sensory experience, as I like to say. And that's it really. So once you've finished with it, if it's not got any dirt in or anything like that, you can put it into an airtight container and it will keep for months and months and months. Obviously it's uncooked, so there's no reason why you can't keep it for other activities. I've used it in activities where it does get dirty or whatever, so obviously you've just got to throw it away. But once it's dried, the colour will stay on the rice. It won't come off in your hands or anything like that, which is another reason why it's good to use the food colouring. Because you can use paint as well, but again I like to just use the natural stuff. And that's it. So there's the green and the blue together. Even the blue that I did earlier is pretty much dried already, so you probably wouldn't even need to leave it overnight, to be perfectly honest. If you are using liquid food colouring, which is perfectly fine, I've done it with liquid food colouring before, obviously it will be wetter, so it will take longer to dry. You still want to be using the vinegar as well as the liquid food colouring though, just to evenly disperse the colour and to make sure that it's absorbed by the rice. So I'm just going to turn the camera around and show you what they look like. Okay, so we've got the blue and the red and the yellow and the purple and the red, no, blue and green, sorry, blue and green, yellow, purple and red. So by morning these will all be dried out. You can hear how dry the ones that I've already done are, because you can hear the rice sound. And we're going to be playing with them tomorrow in a sensory bin. So that's pretty much it really. Nice easy one for tonight. And don't forget that there's a poll on my page to vote for your next live session. There is painted toast, Play-Doh, sensory pouches or fairy dough. So if you want to check in and make a choice, and then my next live session, which will be in a fortnight, will be whatever you guys decide. You've got until midnight. I'm going to change it down at midnight so I can make another event tomorrow. So thank you guys for tuning in, and tune in tomorrow morning and see what we get up to with the rice. And I'll speak to you soon. Thanks guys, bye.